Everyone, and hopefully everybody's doing very well out there. I'm Aldo Spadaro, and in this video we're going to do a very user-friendly, non-intrusive modification to a Fender Princeton Reverb reissue amp to make it sound better, or at least make it sound a bit different, and then you can decide after the short A/B comparison we will do later in this video which you will like best. Now obviously you can do this modification to any guitar amp that carries a 12AX7 preamp tube in the first stage, or let's say 12A type of tube with a 9-pin layout one. Including the vintage Fender Princeton Reverbs, but in my humble opinion, those regular point-to-point versions from the 1960s and 70s, when dialed in correctly and biased correctly, sound great as they are. We will do a super tiny tech talk on this, how it exactly works, but not too much. That's going to be for other very extensive, boring, nerdy videos. We will concern ourselves mostly with how it just sounds. So here is briefly how it works. Many guitar amps carry a 12AX7 preamp tube in the first preamp stage. Now let's say the 12AX7 tube has a gain output, a standard gain output of 100%. Then we go to the 12AT7 variation, and this has an output of 60%. Then we have the 12AY7 and AV7, which are rated at 40%. This is the preamp tube you find in the Tweed Deluxe in the first stage. Some folks call this the blues tube because of its characteristics. It's warm and round, so to say. And in a Tweed Deluxe, let's say the preamp stage of that amp is fairly clean, so to say. So the drive comes mostly from the power section, which gives this amp its compression characteristics. And many people tend to use a 12AX7 nevertheless in the first preamp stage to make this amp a little bit more harmonically driven already on low volumes. It's just a matter of taste. And we also have the 12AU7, which is mostly used in hi-fi equipment because of its gain characteristics, which is rated at only 20%. Now in general, preamp distortion sounds quite compressed. It sounds a bit harmonically less rich, so to say, if we compare this to power tube distortion. So let's say a little bit more harsh, but let's be honest here. With power tube distortion, usually a certain volume level also comes into the equation, and other elements in the signal chain start to cooperate. So the speaker also balances out frequencies, and let's not forget our ears. Our ears also tend to have a certain compression working there, and we get a certain adrenaline response from the way a sound comes across on a certain volume level, and that's how we feel the sound a bit more. So each preamp tube with their own gain output rating brings their own tonal flavor. Now the 68 Custom Princeton Reverb amp happens to come with a Groove Tubes 12AX7 tube from the factory. Now these are probably good enough, but honestly they are still a little bit of a domestic average quality wise. This 12AX7 gives the amp its early breakup that it's known for, but doesn't it sound a little bit too muddy or too loose, and for it's somehow not really completely pleasant, so to say. Now here's what we're going to do. First I'm going to set up the amplifier exactly like this, and I will not touch any of the controls after the fact. I'll just play with the guitar. We're going to just first use our stock setup. I'm going to record a few playing examples, and then we're going to swap the 12AX7 tube with a JJ, sort of a quality tube with an AT7. As we know, the 12AT7 has a 60% output. And we're just going to see what the results are. I'm going to try to replicate the recording examples, and then we can compare the two. And it would be really cool if you can share your thoughts on this in the comments. Let's go! definitely a little change in headroom, but to my ears it feels a bit more like a vintage Princeton does. It's a bit tighter, but it's tighter, but it's also much more usable, I think. The spark is just more more present and it's more beautiful, I think. It also became more dynamic, I think. Hard and it will really break up nicely. It's going to be really like full and crunchy. And when I hit it soft, it becomes this beautiful three-dimensional, clean, sparkly thingy. Sorry for the tuning there. For the fun of it, let's go back to the 12AX7 and see if we can capture this vibe as well. Back on 12AX7, you can already immediately feel that it's not there. I mean, you can of course dial back the volume, but it's going to change the way this amp opens up. Sort of there, but you have to be really careful with your tech. This is very overwhelming, mushy preamp distortion. Which is fun, but it's a different sound. I think with the 1287, at least in this amp, it feels more like a vintage Princeton does. I mean, these really big three-dimensional cleans, like a twin reverb kind of a clean. That is of course a very desirable Fender clean, and that's what you want. Somehow, even with the guitar dialed back, it already has this, this mushy, muddy distortion. Too bad, because the potential is definitely in the amp. Of course, these P90s are a bit on the hot side, of course, but still. Let's go back to the 1287. 1287 warmed up. It's also more spark. Of course, give it a little bit more low end, and you get the super trashy stuff. But yeah, it's all there, I think. Those volume settings, you get your attack, you get your punchy response, and that's of course very nice for your jazz lines as well. With the guitar dialed back just a bit, just a So there you go, a little fun fix without breaking the bank and without changing any component in the amplifier. You can always go back to a 12AX7, maybe even of a little better quality. And you can also try experimenting with the 12AV or AY or even the AU, as long as the 9-pin layout is the same. Hey, thank you very much for watching this, and please feel free to leave a comment here below. Hopefully this was of any use to you. And let me know if there's any questions that we can perhaps do an investigation in. For now, please take care, behave, and we'll see each other soon. You know there's only one Princeton Reverb. Yeah, that's just how it is.